Good morning. It's April 30th, and this is your daily brief in science. Here's everything you need to know. A clear, present reality of accelerating climate change is shaping Europe in 2025, with heat, wildfires, and shrinking rivers setting new records. Record to near-record extremes-driven temperatures well above average across the continent, including a 21-day heat wave in subarctic Fennoscandia. Renewables again provided about 46.4% of electricity, surpassing fossil fuels for the third straight year, but officials say pace isn't enough, and faster decarbonization is needed. March snow cover dropped 31% below average, and roughly 70% of European rivers carried less water than their typical annual flows, signaling stressed water resources. The analysis emphasizes policy action and better public understanding to inform decision-making amid evolving risks. Climate campaigners warn of escalating threats and push for faster emissions cuts and resilient energy systems, with Greenpeace framing climate breakdown as a safety and prosperity issue. Observed shifts are already affecting populations and ecosystems, underscoring that these threats are immediate and rising. Experts highlight the link between rapid warming and biodiversity loss, calling for urgent mitigation and adaptation aligned with the energy transition. There are concerns about human involvement in some incidents, with suspicions of arson and officials urging public information to prevent further damage. Researchers caution that mitigation gains remain insufficient to offset the scale and speed of climate impacts across Europe, and policy focus is on resilience, faster decarbonization, and energy efficiency. Energy implications note hydropower could be affected by glacier melt and low river flows, possible temporary nuclear reductions due to cooling water shortages, and solar potentially benefiting from higher insolation, though overall energy security remains a concern. ECMWF's Samantha Burgess calls the findings a stark reality demanding urgent action. A fresh look at infant formula safety shows the FDA pledging ongoing collaboration with manufacturers to lower contaminant levels and boost overall safety, while noting many families rely on formula even when breastfeeding is recommended. The agency plans more testing and the establishment of actionable contaminant levels, with a focus on keeping contaminants at the lowest possible levels through continued industry oversight. Consumer groups have pressed for firm federal limits, and past Consumer Reports analyses have shaped public concern and parental choices. This story is part of STAT's chronic health coverage, supported in part by Bloomberg Philanthropies. The 2023 testing initiative, under a new administration, followed earlier safety concerns and debates highlighted by watchdogs. Agency officials and outside pediatric experts say the current U.S. infant formula supply is safe, and there is no reason to withhold available formula. The broader safety push began with a 2025 federal effort to tighten formula's safety and quality standards, and the U.S. still lacks enforceable heavy metal limits seen in the EU, Canada, and Australia. Health Secretary Kennedy stresses accountability for manufacturers and transparent data to protect children's health, while the FDA Commissioner notes ongoing advances in formula safety and innovation. FDA testing from 2023 to 2025 found contaminant levels largely undetectable or very low, with 99% of samples free of pesticides and PFAS levels minimal. Heavy metals stayed well below drinking water limits. The initiative fits a broader goal of national food security and safety in infant nutrition, with continued scrutiny expected in future updates. FDA will conduct follow-up surveys and publicly share results on formulas entering the U.S. market as part of its transparency efforts. Experts generally agreed with the assessment but cautioned that contaminants like phthalates and PFAS require ongoing monitoring and transparency for the wider food supply. Pfizer reports positive top-line data from MAGNETIS-MM5, a Phase 3 study of ELREXFIO as a standalone treatment in adults with relapsed or refractory multiple myeloma who have had at least one prior therapy. The trial met its primary endpoint by showing a significant improvement in progression-free survival versus the standard of care DPD, with overall survival remaining a secondary endpoint and not mature at this interim analysis. Involving 497 patients across 26 countries, ELREXFIO monotherapy was compared to daratumumab plus pomalidomide and dexamethasone, and the results were confirmed by blinded independent central review. Analysts have mixed reactions, with some maintaining strong ratings while others adjust price targets amid ongoing patent and competitive dynamics surrounding the therapy. Safety and tolerability remained in line with ELREXFIO's known profile, with no new safety signals identified, and full results will be presented at a future medical congress. The report provides context on multiple myeloma prevalence and relapse dynamics and discusses potential impacts of earlier intervention alongside REMS requirements for monitoring cytokine release syndrome and neurologic events. MAGNETIS-MM5 enrolled adults with relapsed or refractory disease and excluded smoldering myeloma, plasma cell leukemia, amyloidosis, POEMs, recent stem cell transplant, prior BCMA-targeted agents, recent live vaccines, or concurrent investigational products. ELREXFIO is a BCMA-CD3 bispecific antibody delivered subcutaneously that redirects T cells to myeloma cells and is approved in several markets for heavily pretreated RRMM, with ongoing development in monotherapy and in combinations under the MAGNETIS-MM program. Participants had prior lenalidomide and proteasome inhibitor exposure and followed a two-step priming dosing regimen before weekly 76 mg injections with dose adjustments based on response. Overall survival remains a key secondary endpoint, and Pfizer says results will be shared with health authorities and presented at a future Congress as MAGNETIS-MM5 continues, while highlighting ELREXFIO's potential across multiple lines of therapy, including monotherapy and combinations, and the possibility of earlier treatment settings. ELREXFIO's safety profile continues to align with prior data, including risks of cytokine release syndrome and neurologic events, and its global regulatory footprint includes accelerated approval in the US and EU labeling across various settings. A new AI-driven tool called OBSCORE is designed to identify individuals at higher risk of obesity-related diseases, to prioritize weight loss interventions within the NHS using multiple risk factors beyond BMI alone. UK researchers developed a risk assessment that enables early intervention and targeted prevention by distinguishing high-risk individuals for obesity-related conditions. The model uses predictors such as age, sex, total cholesterol, and creatinine levels, along with other indicators identified in the study to guide decisions. It emphasizes interpretability to build clinical trust and adoption while maintaining predictive accuracy, avoiding opaque black box approaches. Findings show that BMI alone may misclassify a substantial portion of people risking under or over-treatment if used as the sole metric. The study notes data privacy and ethical considerations, calling for secure handling of personal health information and efforts to avoid stigma or discrimination. Future directions include prospective trials on cost-effectiveness, integration with electronic health records, and assessing impact on patient outcomes and resource allocation in obesity management. Validation indicates risk predictions align with observed outcomes in UK Biobank and independent datasets and correlate with weight loss outcomes in trial participants, suggesting high-risk individuals respond to treatment. Experts say the approach is promising for holistic risk prediction, but requires substantial further validation and practical alignment with NHS workflows and data availability. The tool targets diabetes and heart disease, using factors like BMI, lifestyle, and medical history to identify those at risk for early intervention, with a shift away from weight-centric care toward precision obesity management to optimize prevention and treatment across populations. By identifying risks before symptoms, healthcare professionals can guide lifestyle changes, interventions, or monitoring to prevent or delay disease onset and reduce long-term burden. Ariane 6 is set to launch 32 Amazon LEO satellites on VA268, the seventh Ariane 6 flight and the second using the 64 variant with 4 solid boosters. Amazon LEO will be deployed through multiple rockets over time, including Ariane 6, SpaceX Falcon 9 and ULA Atlas V and Vulcan Centaur, with at least 18 Ariane 6 flights booked for the constellation build-out. The first Ariane 64 launch earlier this year delivered 32 satellites, and VA268 will aim for a similar deployment profile. Launch operations are centered at the CDL in Kourou, Guyane, where teams manage all launcher integration in a fortified facility with extensive sensors tracking every state during ascent. During A64 testing, engineers observed unusual effects on the launch pad, including a burning mast base and dynamic exhaust plumes, prompting minor adaptations and rapid post-launch repairs to maintain schedule. The launch profile features booster separation, fairing jettison, core stage separation, V and CI engine ignitions, and payload separation, with a total mission duration around 114 minutes. Ariane Group leads as prime contractor and design authority. Arianespace serves as launch service provider, while ESA oversees development, risk management, and performance across a European industrial network in 13 countries. Live coverage will be available on Arianespace's YouTube channel, with a media kit provided for reporters and interested viewers. On launch day, fueling with LOX and HL2 occurs, with fueling arms designed to detach before liftoff to support a synchronized A64 window from roughly 10:08 to 10:57 Paris time. The P120C boosters are among the most powerful single-piece motors in production, and the mission uses a 20-meter fairing to house all 32 satellites. Ariane 6's industrial process is optimized for horizontal manufacturing across Europe, with components shipped to Cayenne and integrated in BAL using automated tooling for precise assembly. This has been your Daily Brief in Science. To read more about these stories, follow the links in the episode bio. You can also subscribe to these updates via email at www.brief.news. For more daily podcasts about the topics you love, visit brief.news/podcasts. Tune in tomorrow. We'll be back with everything you need to know.